Songbird Rise by India Ari. If you're not familiar, I highly recommend India Ari's entire in all of her songs, like all of them. I recommend all of them. And I just want to highlight a couple of the lyrics here. Songbird rise, lift your eyes, spread your wings, prepare to fly. This is the moment of your life. Go ahead and fly. I believe in open doors. So the invitation is to go ahead and fly and go ahead and play. Just open the door of your mind, open the door of your heart, and allow yourself to fly. I love the energy of playing. And one of the gifts for me of having my girls is playing with them when they were little. And it's amazing what's stored in our subconscious mind. Like all of these songs that we used to sing when I was coming up were just, remember Miss Mary Matt? Miss Mary Matt, all dressed in black, black, black. Like it's just there, right? And we could conjure it up, you know? And the other thing that we conjure up is the feeling of it, right? That feeling of joy, of lightness, that feeling of flying, of being untethered by anything and believing that everything was possible, right? So this month is our invitation to reconnect and realign with that sacred play energy, living as divine expressions. So let me just check in with my playmates here. I see kickball, I see badminton, I see a couple of hopscotch, I see jacks. Oh, Bonnie, that was one of my favorites, musical chairs. But I was so competitive. Don't tell anybody, but I would push people out of their chairs because I wanted to win. I did that. Yeah, I did. I love double dutch. They would accuse me of being double-handed. Anyone got accused of being double-handed and messing up people jumping? Mm-hmm. So this is who we are this month. We are our favorite games, backgammon. We are our favorite games. Roxanne is on Facebook and she said peekaboo. You remember peekaboo? That was a fun game to play as well. And I see you, Shay. I allow God to love, heal, and provide for me and my inner child. Amen. Amen, Shay. Jax was one of my favorites as well. So you'll get it, right? And so let me just say right now what the love work is. For whatever your favorite game is that you have declared yourself to be for July, that you will play it at least once this month. At least once this month. Red light, green light. So red light, green light, all of what these games have in common for the most part, I think in all parts, is that we get to do it with other people, right? That's so unlike a lot of the games that kids play today. They could play so many games today all by themselves on videos, on apps. They could just be by themselves playing these games. But the games of our youth always required that we play it with other people. Imagine playing musical chairs all by yourself. What's the point of that? I couldn't play Red Rover all by myself. So there's medicine in that, y'all. There's medicine in coming together and playing together. And we got to do that yesterday with our leadership council led by Cheryl, who hosted us at her beautiful home yesterday. So thank you to everyone who was able to attend. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. I even learned a new game. I don't remember what it's called right now. It was acronyms. But Roxanne won the game, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So we will be having other play dates coming up. So, as I said, our theme for July is Sacred Play, Living as Divine Expression. And this is an opportunity to see ourselves as divine players in the spiritual game of life. So we're not being defeated, we're being awakened again. And we're exploring how living in harmony with spiritual law affirms our inner truth through the power of the patterns of our thinking, through our feeling tone, through our mental equivalent, and by saying yes to our creative power. It allows us to live joyfully, courageously, and intentionally as expressions of the divine. So the game is not won through effort. Most games are won through strategy. They're won by being fully present. They're won by understanding the rules of the game, right? They're won by, we could substitute rules for law, right? They're won by being in alignment with the law. And so it's mastered through that. We get to align, not struggle, not figure it out, simply align ourselves with that divine expression that we are. So I'm extending an invitation to us to interact with the game of life and to play it successfully with all your heart and spirit. And we do this by knowing the spiritual laws of success. To be successful, we must know the spiritual laws of success. And so life isn't something that's random. It's not a puzzle. It's not coincidental. It's not accidental. It's not about the hustle or the grind. It is about a spiritual game. And I'd like to think of that game as dancing with spirit. I just see myself dancing with spirit. So our companion books this month, we have two. I think the first one most of us have at least heard of, and that's The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Everyone familiar with that one? Ooh, I see some head shaking. No. So this is like 4 books in one. The Game of Life is really small. You could get through it in a couple of hours. It's a classic. It was published in 1925, and it still rings true today because it's based in principle. So The Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn. And then our other companion book is The Coming of the Cosmic Christ by Matthew Fox. So people may not be as familiar with Matthew Fox and his writings, but he is also an incredible spiritual teacher. So one of the things that Florence writes in The Game of Life and How to Play It is life is a game. And to play it successfully, we must know the spiritual laws of success. Florence taught that there are divine laws at work, just like gravity, just like electricity, that are always in operation. And she refers to the law of substitution, how we get to substitute one for another. So an example of that could be substituting fear for faith. It could be substituting indifference for love. It could be substituting separation for oneness. She also speaks a lot about the law of expectancy. What are you expecting? Oftentimes, what we expect is what shows up. So let us be very conscious and aware of what we are expecting. And probably one of her most talked about aspects of the law is the law of the spoken word. And so this month, our spiritual practice is the spoken word. So we're going to be spending conscious time with ourselves, paying attention to the words that come out of our mouths this month. And our spiritual principle is the law of cause and effect. And I'll be speaking more about that as we go on. So the game isn't about winning over others. It's about aligning with the truth. Florence writes in The Game of Life that the game of life is a game of boomerangs, that our thoughts, our deeds, our actions, our words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. She says, every move we make, every word we speak is part of our spiritual play. So our role is not to control the board, but to stay in alignment with the divine principles that govern the game. And Matthew Fox puts it this way in the coming of the cosmic Christ. He writes, play is not frivolous. Play is at the heart of worship, at the heart of creativity, and at the heart of the divine. So sometimes play gets downplayed as if it's not important, as if it's not significant, but it is, because of the feeling tone that we activate within ourselves when we are playing. So Fox reminds us that sacred play is not an escape, it's an expression. He speaks of the cosmic Christ as the divine light in all beings. And when we align with the light, we are not just players, we are revealers of God. So we play through worship, we play through creativity, we play through community, and our living authentically reveals that revelation of play. So it's important that we are consciously aware and awake to what we are expressing, especially now. So it's not about reacting, it's about creating, co-creating with spirit, with love, which is the most powerful force in the universe. It is active and it is participatory. So when we align with the divine law and live from our inner yes, we are no longer reacting to the world. We are co-creating with spirit. And our friend Ernest Holmes, he's often written and spoken in his sermons that there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are. And what can we do with it? We can use it. We can use it. So now, right now, is the time for us to use the power of good in the universe as our sacred play. So each time we align with the greater good and use the power of good, we are engaging in sacred play, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. So what's the game, y'all? It's not about competition. It's not about struggle. It's not even about winning. The game is a sacred act of remembering who we are and aligning with the laws that govern this universe. So we know from our teachings that the law responds to us no matter what. No matter what. No matter what bill is passed, no matter what's written into legislation, no matter who's in the White House, no matter what, the law responds to us. So if the law responds to us, it means that we are governed by spiritual law. We are governed by spiritual law. Let us remember who governs us. And let us be responsive through our creativity in knowing who governs us, who governs our consciousness. Because remember, whatever we think and feel returns to us. It returns to us. And it's about being spiritually responsible. So when I spoke about our spiritual practice being our spoken word, part of being spiritually responsible is being conscious of the words that come out of our mouths, conscious of the conversations that we are engaging in, conscious of what we are repeating, the stories we are telling. What is the feeling tone? What is the content of it? What is the purpose? What is the intention? And what is it aligned with? So we are not powerless. I know many people feel powerless right now. And that is by design. That design was called Project 2025, for us to feel powerless. But we are not powerless. We are a powerful force for good. And each thing that we do, each interaction that we have that is aligned with that knowingness matters. There is a ripple that occurs. And I know that sometimes it's really challenging to believe that. But it is the truth. And we need more of us who knows the truth, who stand as the truth, who are aligned with love and the law, to stand in that knowingness through our actions. So Florence, I mentioned, she calls the law of substitution, and the one that she loves to talk about the most is substituting fear with faith. And so we can practice that right now. Replacing fear with faith. And she shares this story that I want to share with you from the game of life and how to play it. And this is a pretty common story. I think probably many of us can relate to this. It's about relationships. And so she tells this story of this woman who comes to her and wants her to speak a word for a relationship that this woman wants to have with a man named AB. So this woman thinks she's in love with AB. As a prayer practitioner, oftentimes someone's prayer request would be about a relationship, or wanting to be in a relationship, or even wanting to be out of a relationship. So this woman comes to Florence and says, I want you to speak a word that I will marry a certain man, because she believed that she was in love with him. And so this is what Florence says to the woman. I replied that this would be a violation of spiritual law, but that I would speak the word for the right man, the divine selection, the man who belonged to her by divine right. She added, if AB is the right man, you can't lose him. And if he isn't, you will receive the equivalent. She saw AB frequently but no headway was made in their friendship. So one evening, the woman called Florence and said, "Do you know, for the last week, AB seemed not so wonderful to me." I replied, "Well, maybe he's not the divine selection. Another man may be the right one." Soon after that, the woman met another man who fell in love with her at once, and who she said was her ideal. In fact, he said all the things that she had always wished AB would say to her. She remarked it was quite uncanny. The woman soon returned his love and lost all interest in AB. Florence writes, "This shows the law of substitution. A right idea was substituted for a wrong one. Therefore, there was no loss or sacrifice involved." So my question to you is, can you think of an example of the law of substitution operating in your life? Can you think of a time where you really thought you wanted this thing, and then you got something else, and that something else that you got was the right thing? Although you could not be convinced at one point that the thing that you really believed you wanted was the thing. Anyone have that experience? I see you, Susie. Susie, you like to share?
Sure.
I should say red light, green light. Would you like to share?
Yes. So it was a job. I lost my job at a college. And like 6 months before that, I've been working with a friend, and we were praying for me to work somewhere, intending for me to work somewhere where I was treated, with respect and all these different, particular adjectives. And 6 months later, I lost my job because I wasn't treated that way there. But of course, I was devastated. And 6 weeks later, I had a new job. So that's an example for me.
That's a great example, red light, green light. I love that example. And I can relate to that example specifically as well. So the law of substitution. Let us not be in resistance to the law working its way through us to remove what is no longer for us, so that we are creating space within ourselves to receive that which is. What that woman wanted was love. But what she identified was this man, AB. And what Florence was demonstrating to her through the power of the spoken word is that you substitute this man for what it is that you really, truly are desiring, which is love. And then love showed up. So we can apply that to any situation in our lives. Is this an opportunity right here, right now, as the world is, for us to align with the law of substitution? To substitute fear with faith, to substitute separation with oneness. I believe that it is. So Science of Mind reminds us, I love our teaching so much because we can use it, we can use it in our lives. So Science of Mind reminds us that thoughts and feelings are created. So our pattern of thinking, our pattern of speaking creates. So what thoughts, what feelings are you putting into motion? We are always planting seeds. So let us be conscious as we play this game called life, that we are being very deliberate and consistent with our thinking and our feelings. Science of Mind also reminds us that spirit is always broadcasting. But guess what? So are we. We are always broadcasting. So what are you putting out there in the atmosphere? What are you tuning into? Let us be conscious that our role is to tune in. There is an inner tuning that we get to do and be that aligns with the vibration of our mission, of our vision, of our values, of who we declare ourselves to be. That's what we get to broadcast. We get to disrupt other broadcasting systems by broadcasting clearly the vibration of the power of love, of connection. Science of Mind also reminds us that we are always at choice. We have a choice. Play itself is not passive, and choice is not passive. We can make a choice intelligently or unintelligently, consciously or unconsciously. But a choice is being made. And we get to know that the power position in this play of choice is to be intentional, to be consistent, to be deliberate, to attune to the choice that is in alignment with love. So I want to close by just sharing 4 things we can do to play this sacred game. 1, listen. Tune in to your intuition. Our intuition is our spiritual faculty. And oftentimes, our intuition is very directed. Go get that book. That might be something someone could relate to. Turn down this block. Don't run for that train. Call your mother. Don't call your mother. It's usually, our intuition is usually direct. It's pointing the way. So we listen and we trust it and we consider it our divine GPS. Ernest puts it this way. He says, love rules through law. Love points the way and law makes the way possible. Love points the way and law makes the way possible. Listen. 2, we speak truth. Florence has another book called Your Word is Your Wand. And that book is all about declaring over your life, speaking truth into your life, over your family, over your community, over the world. So remember that your spoken word is your spiritual practice for this month. So every time you speak, be aware of the words that are coming out of your mouth, especially the words that we speak after we say, I am. Because I am is creative, it is powerful. So if you speak a word, I am, and then it's some cray-cray coming out of your mouth, you want to cancel that. You want to substitute what you just said for the truth. 3, we act in faith. Florence says, man must prepare for the thing he has asked for when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight. That's sacred play, faith in motion. So we get to be grateful in advance. And I just had the experience of this last week. I deposited a check and I get a message at the ATM that says, your check will be held for 7 days. It will be available on 7/15. I said, what? It's going to be held. This has never happened before. I go in the bank and I ask the people in the bank, I tell them what happened. And the people in the bank, the tellers, told me to call the bank. And I had to stop and look around, like literally, I stopped and I spin around. And then I asked the woman, where am I? And she said, you're in Chase Bank. And what did you just tell me to do? Well, you have to call the bank. Oh, okay. So I went home, I called the bank. But before I called the bank, I said a little prayer. And I said, I am grateful right now that my money has already been released. And then I called the bank and I got the runaround. And I was told, just give it a couple of hours and see what happens. True story, y'all. I asked to speak to someone else. The person told me there's no one else to speak to. And I said to the person, okay, I'm going to speak to God. I'll call back later. And I hung up. I let it be. That night when I was doing my spiritual practice, I was saying my gratitude. I said, I am grateful that my money has already been released. The next day, I called the bank again. Did y'all know there's a whole check release department of the bank? Who knew? Someone transferred me to that department. The woman was very helpful, released the funds right then and there. Could not explain why this happened. Could not give me an explanation. But I was very conscious of my feeling tone, of what I was thinking about how I was showing up and redirecting myself, realigning myself in gratitude, because gratitude is a powerful vibration. So let us be grateful in advance by acting in faith. Be faithful. That's 3. The last one, 4, we let love lead. Let love lead. Ask love, what is the best thing that I can do right now? And listen. Florence, Matthew, and Ernest agree that love is the highest law. And when we align with love, we are never off track, even when it appears that we are. We are not. So, our life is a living prayer. Our sacred play is a living prayer. So I invite you to repeat after me this affirmation. If you want to write it down to just anchor yourself in this month, please do. I am a sacred player in the divine game of life. I am a sacred player in the divine game of life. Thank you, red light, green light. So take a breath with me, you all. And let us just anchor this in affirmative prayer. So I know right here and right now that there is one life, one infinite presence that moves through all creation. It is love, it is law, it is joy, and it is play. This life is not static, it is dynamic, expressive, unfolding, and divine. This presence plays through us, breathes through us, creates through us. So I speak this word for each one present here, for each soul here, knowing that we are sacred participants in this divine game. We are not confused. We are not lost. We are not overwhelmed. We are not struggling. We are aligned with principle, with truth, with love. We remember today that we are not separate from God, but expressions of the holy itself, made to live, to love, and to create in joy. So every word we speak, every thought we choose, every inspired action we take is rooted in divine intelligence. We are guided by intuition, grounded in truth, and empowered by law. Even when the games feel uncertain, we trust that spirit is moving the pieces in divine right order and in divine right timing. We claim our sacred roles as co-creators, not competitors. We affirm, I am aligned, I am empowered. I play this game in faith and joy, knowing love always leads me home. I am a sacred player in the divine game of life. I give thanks for this truth, for this day, for this divine presence that plays within each of us. And so I release this word, this knowingness, knowing that it shall not return to me void, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve for the purpose for which I sent it. And knowing this, know this with me by speaking the words to affirm. And so it is. Amen.